Good night, Sports Frenzy family. Good night, everyone. Welcome to our Sports Frenzy podcast. And as you all know, I'm your host, Levon. And with me tonight, I have our resident analyst, Ryan Lawson. Once again, here to us, the Chelsea man, avid sports follower. This man follows a lot of sports as well and has vast knowledge about the majority of the sports. So we're here to discuss some football action, touch on a little cricket, a little track and field because there are a lot of sports going on. And us, it was a jam-packed weekend of action in sports, especially in football. And we reviewed the Arsenal game on the previous slide because it was played on the Friday. So we won't really touch much on that. No, we're going to discuss the Liverpool versus Newcastle fixture that ended 1-1. And one of our analysts, Chris Lynch, actually got the scoreline perfect. He called it on the live. He said that based on how Liverpool play and based on the fact that Newcastle really need the points, he expected that this would have ended in this particular order. And he said it with quite conviction. And he also called the previous game with Liverpool that they had won. He said that based on how Liverpool play, he didn't expect them to really get much out of it. And so said so done, even though they were wasteful and they conceded what last minute is in the 95th, that is. They had conceded in the 92nd, but it was chalked off by VAR. But afterwards, they got an equalizer, and the equalizer was scored by Joe Willock. I remember Stephen McCarthy, he has scored in their last 3 games, and he has scored the equalizer on all occasions. Now it's been touted that Arsenal are demanding over $30 million for him if Newcastle actually wants him. All right, first up, Ryan, I want your take on the game itself, and then do you think that this Joe Willock fella is actually worth $30 million?
Well, the game itself, over this weekend, I missed a few games, so it's not one of my most prolific weekend in terms of watching football. So uh, the result is not really a shock. It wasn't a shock for Chris, and I wouldn't say it was a shock for me either, because of the situation and the way both teams have been playing recently. So a draw was a fair call to make. As it relates to Joe Willock, he's an average Joe. Um, I think he's at a team that suits him in terms of I don't see him being a top level player. Not that Arsenal is a top level team either, but the
Boss man,
expectations at
you
Arsenal,
got to edge of them, someone.
the expectations of Arsenal to a Newcastle are different, vastly different. So he will get away with a lot more bad games at Newcastle than he will at Arsenal. So,
Well, if
huh?
finish. I'll
No, he
go
will
for
get.
but
I'm saying that because against the backdrop that Arsenal, there's more pressure there, even though their league position um wouldn't show that based
well,
on how they've been playing and their losses and all of that. So at the end of the day, they are still a big team.
well,
Newcastle is also considered a big club, but
when I
but
said
in terms of
that's
their
a thing of the
history,
past.
in terms of their history and their finishing over the last few seasons, they are not up there anymore in terms of expectations. So I think Joe Willock is suited for a club um, along the lines of a Newcastle right now.
But I'm
As
not in
for
agreement with the price tag doing it because
as for that, yeah, I'm coming to that. As for that, I don't agree with the price tag either.
all right, if you look at it, right, majority of the games that he has played for Newcastle, I believe he has come off the bench.
Off the bench, yeah.
So number one, if it's a man that's actually coming off the bench, why would I then pay that much amount for that for such a player? Even with the knowledge also that there's a likely possibility that Arsenal will not play him when he returns from the loan. Because if you look at the position that he plays, they are already stuck somewhat, even though some players might not be performing up to the level that is expected. It's like there's a big disparity in quality.
Yeah.
Because sometimes he plays as an attacking midfielder. if you look at him versus Odegaard, well, that's if they keep Odegaard next season. But even Smith Rowe that plays as the number 10, Smith Rowe is a better player than him.
The long and
And
short is Newcastle don't need a Joe Willock. I stress the word need. He's a very important player to them in terms of what they are getting from him now, but in terms of on a needs basis, they don't need him.
so based on futuristic settings, you wouldn't necessarily say that he's a player that they actually need. It's more like they should start out other problematic position
No,
more than that.
he can be a player that might become a starter next season and all of that for them, but in terms of a needs basis, there are players that they can get for way less than 30 million that
Agreed
can
upon.
help to bolster their squad. So he's
Agreed
not somebody
upon.
that they need right now. Yeah,
We're
and you
going
have more positions that need to fill out. Yeah.
we're going to stick on them. Overall, based on the season that they have had so far, what do they make of it? And do you think that the current coach, that's Steve Bruce, do you think he's a man to carry them into next season? Or if you were in the boardroom for Newcastle, would you get rid of him come season end?
The fans don't like him, and he doesn't play he doesn't play an attractive brand of football. And I think a better coach can get more out of that team.
So
So I
essentially, you're
don't.
saying that they should get rid
Yeah,
of him.
yeah. But we know how the owner is already. That's not going to happen so easy.
Okay. Um, I for one would get rid of him because personally, I don't like Steve Bruce. As you mentioned that he plays way too defensive for my liking, and in terms of the players that he has at his disposal, he should be doing way better with them, and he has failed to live up to that. And if so be the case, next season will be another season that they will actually be struggling once again. So I'm like, what sense does it make that you're going to a season once again struggling to make it in the top half? You're basically fighting a relegation battle. Doesn't make any sense to me because,
Yeah.
as I mentioned a couple of times, well, Rafa Benitez was the man that was actually doing bits and pieces for them in terms of having them playing quality football and also possibly making them break into the top 10. Since Rafa Benitez has moved on, Newcastle has basically been fighting a relegation battle. And as I said, Steve Bruce is not the man to dig them out of this hole.
Yeah, you sign up for a relegation battle when you pick Steve Bruce.
Agreed upon totally. Um, do you have anything to say about the team over at Anfield?
Huh?
Do you have any comments on the team over by Anfield?
Nothing much. I just hope they don't get top four at our detriment.
Boss man,
If
shake
it going
sail
to
with
come
it.
down, if it going to come down to Chelsea and New and anybody else, I hope that team don't get that position.
But remember that Shake said multiple times now. Liverpool will not make top four. So it just falls out based on all indications for them. And what again in that game, it proves one thing that I keep on saying. Liverpool at home 2021 is only once they have scored more than 2 goals in a game. And that was the other day when they beat by 2 goals to 1. So Liverpool at home, just expect pure 1 goals. Nothing more than them. Next up we saw West Ham, high flying West Ham taking on Chelsea. It was what? Fourth place against fifth place.
Yeah,
Both teams
that one I
were
saw.
both teams are deadlocked on 55 points, even though one had a superior goal difference. But it was a game that Chelsea came out 1-0. What's your take on your team?
Well, I saw most of that game. I saw, well, almost all of the first half and the back end of the second half. I heard that West Ham played better than us during the second half. As for the first half that I saw, we outplayed them tremendously. And if we were creating more, our problem right now is goal creation. And if we were creating more opportunities, then we could have scored more than one goal going into the second half. And we also need better game management. where second half is concerned after we're going with a lead because a better team could have equalized against us. And we have Champions League this weekend, so certain mistakes we just have to try not to make happen. And game management is one of those things we need to get better at.
All right, there was a controversial moment in the game, right? In the 81st minute where Fabian Balbuena got sent off, apparently for kicking Ben Chilwell. However, I didn't see him kick the man necessarily. It was more like clearing the ball, and then it somehow
Follow
happened
through.
that it somehow happened that Chilwell came in his direction. Was it a red card for you or not?
The same thing that happened with Rudiger and another player. He cleared the ball and the follow through caught Rudiger. So those things happen in football don't mean it is a red. Um, Sometimes your follow through can be very hard. You don't intend it, so you can give a yellow for that. Some of the time you don't really. Some you have to use your discretion as a referee to um, make certain calls and make certain judgments.
I personally wouldn't have given a red for that. As you said,
Yeah,
it was
yellow.
at best I'd give a yellow card. And
Yeah,
another point in that game also, Timo Werner finally breaking his goal scoring mean
Joe.
streak,
Yeah.
and he got a goal, and it was a good goal for him. But if you look at it though, right, would you say that he should have scored more than once because he had another opportunity that an informed striker would have buried?
Well,
And
put it this way, I'm glad he scored once.
but it also leads me to my next question. You being a Chelsea man, looking forward to next season. Obviously, Tuchel more than likely will still be the coach,
Yeah,
right? So, do you think that you guys need to invest in a forward, or Timo Werner can actually lead the line next season?
we need a true number 9 next season who is not Tammy Abraham.
Well, I see a lot of clubs going after him. That's it. There's a West Ham, Aston Villa, and quite a
Yeah,
few other clubs are
those
interested in him.
clubs, those clubs should go after him, but we need a top number 9 next season. And
But doesn't bother you that you're actually somewhat top heavy in terms of the players that you have and they're not getting enough game time? Because I see a lot of analysts blasting Tuchel for his treatment of players like CH, Pulisic, and those players. So doesn't it bother you
no, but he's
as a
rotating.
fan
He's
that
rotating the forward players.
when
One
it
week,
comes on to
1 week
wingers?
up. No, but the forward players are getting. If you look at the minutes that they are getting, their playing time has been rotated. Because what we have like 6 of them, give and take. So every week, all of them won't get games or get sufficient minutes. So 1 week, ZH will be out and the media will be on him about ZH. The next week, Hudson-Odoi will be out. The media will be on him about Hudson-Odoi. So it's going to be a ongoing cycle of this man not playing and that man not playing and so forth. All of them can't play at the same time or continuously or what have you. Game times. Remember, ZH was out for a while recently. Pulisic the same. Hudson-Odoi now has been out for a couple of games. I mean, when you have these amount of options at the top of the field, you will always have this reality to contend with. So it's not an issue for me. They will
But
get minutes when the time comes.
but the genuine concern is that there are players that are actually playing well, right? Because on few occasions you have a Pulisic might turn up and do very well in on a bounce up game. Why would you try to break that person? What they say their form based on the form that they're in. Why would you actually remove them out of the team just so you could bring in other players? Wouldn't you want that connectivity, that camaraderie to continue with the other players that they have a understanding with, than
I get, I
instead
get
of
what you,
breaking up it?
I get what you're saying, right? I get what you're saying, but we have um when you look at it, in terms of the
Ryan? Alright, seems like Ryan has gone for a minute, so I'll continue. But as I was mentioning to him earlier, I personally think that in terms of based on the amount of wingers they have, it would bother me as a fan to see that this player might be on a run of form, a very good run of form, and then when I look at it, next couple of games, he's out, and then the next one coming in might have a good run, then he gone again, and that next player that comes in form drops and things like that. So that tends to break up team, especially when a team is somewhat on a run of form, and it can also lead to a downward spiral for that particular team. Because let's say, for argument's sake, you have all these players at your disposal, and all of them are there, and they're doing quite well. You can reach a point
What
where
up?
players start to
What happened a
become.
while ago?
I'm not so sure what happened, but you chipped out for a minute. But I was saying that you could have a team in Orion that the players are performing, yes, and some might be getting more minutes than others, and then that will lead to a man thinking that, you know what, I've been on the bench somewhat too long, challenge and things like that. So if you look at it from that point, then players can also start to become upset. How would these players becoming upset? They would then want to leave. So it's my thinking that Tuchel might be running the risk of sooner or later some of these players actually want to leave. You finish up on the point that you were bringing, Ryan.
Yeah, I was saying based on the ages of these players and their class, um, they are similar age range and they are similar class, so they are similar levels. So and plus Tuchel has been brought in mid-season, so he's basically working out systems as he goes along and giving players, rotating players and so forth. So I don't have an issue with that. It's not like you have a player who is way above the other and he's putting him in for 1 week and taking him out the following week. All the players have been consistent and they have been inconsistent at times. So it's just what it is for me.
All right, so as you said, you think that you guys actually need a true number 9 to go into next
Yeah.
season. And I say, get rid of Tommy.
Well, it's outside time.
But let's see how this one unfolds. Because the thing is that, as I said,
Or if you're
he's
going to keep Tammy, or if Tammy is going to stay, you just have to know that, oh, he's going to be the backup, number 9. You just have to
and then
accept.
and then what will he do with that player like Giroud?
Well, Giroud is the wrong side of 30, so you just have to do.
I think you have too much players on your hand, boss. You need to get rid of
Some
few players.
some amount of sales have to go on. It's either Tammy or Giroud, but one or the other have to go.
All right, see how that one unfold. And next up on Saturday, we saw Sheffield United getting a 1-0 victory over Brighton. Somewhat surprising to some and also not surprising to others. Sheffield and Brighton has always battled out in this fixture, even though Sheffield have basically gone down to the championship. But they end up fighting and they got a 1-0 victory through David McGoldrick. Um, Ryan, Brighton not helping themselves in terms of moving more away from the drop zone, because this was a fixture that you'd probably pencil in as an analyst and said, has been playing good football all season long. This is a hapless, very poor Sheffield United team. So more than likely you'd have written down this as sure 3 points for Brighton. Even though, as we always say, there's nothing as surety in sports. But if we're analyzing the thing and based on how both teams actually play, you'd actually say that this is a team that they expect to beat a Sheffield United
Yeah,
team. On
you'd
this
expect
occasion,
them
it
to.
was
Yeah, you'd
go
expect
on.
them to beat Sheffield, but in the same breath, when you look at what Brighton has been doing all season, it will also not be a shock that they did not beat Sheffield and they actually lost because Brighton has been doing this all season. So that's just they have been consistent in being inconsistent.
I agreed upon that. Because, all right, if you look at it though, what is there for Sheffield to actually get at? Is there anything that they can actually achieve?
Pride.
Absolutely not. Because nobody don't really want many of their players. A lot of these players are not attractive to some of these clubs. Then if you look at a Sanderberg who is actually hot injured, that is a player that is of interest to some of the clubs that are still in the Premier League and outside the Premier League. But
Mm.
otherwise from that, it's far and few between, and a lot of these players at Sheffield has been very disappointing this season. And one of those that stand out is one of your own player, Ethan Ampadu. Him going over to Sheffield, actually thought that, hey, he's now at a club that he'll get regular game time and you expect him to show whatever quality he has. But Ethan Ampadu has fallen off big time, and he's surely disappointed to a lot of Chelsea fans who actually thought that this is a player who would have come through somewhat based on the talent that he had shown at a tender age, and even more so when he plays for his national team, which is the Welsh national team, and even when he went on loan at Leipzig, he did do himself a fair amount of justice. But since he has moved on to Sheffield, he has looked way out of sorts. This player has looked like a player that, at best, is probably a League Two player, and I'm being really considerate by giving him that. I'm being really honest with that, and it bothers me a lot when players like these are expected to do well for Sheffield United come next season in the Championship to actually try to bring them back into the league. But if this is how they're actually going to play, based on how they played through the entire season, it leads me to think a lot, and they really need a coach to actually carry this team. Because if they don't get a good coach, they're going to stay in the Championship next season. They won't have a quick turnaround like a Watford team, even though I personally think that Watford isn't that good. And later on, I'll touch on that because they have been promoted to the Premier League. So I'll touch on that in a few. But if you want to actually you want to show others that yes, we have talent and we have potential and we could actually make it into another Premier League team and things like that. And these players haven't shown anything at all. As I said earlier on, there are some Sanderberg that you could say could fit into probably a Premier League team. The other players are very much average. They're very average. So you don't expect to see many of these players getting any contract at all to come back to any team in the Premier League. So they were hapless through the season. And now with Brighton has played consistently through the season in terms of good attacking football. Graham Potter has gotten them to play some good attacking football, but they lack cutting edge. Their forward line is absolutely atrocious, especially their forward Neil Maupay. He's very wasteful, and sometimes you think, okay, they play good. Will this week be their week that they actually bag some points? And then they come out, play and get beaten by a hard goal. And the thing is that what bother their fans is that look at it from this standpoint. Okay, you're there, you have been unlucky on quite a few occasions. Even more so when they played Man United earlier on in the season that when that game finished, what I believe it was 3-2 that they had lost. They had that game sewn up. If you ask me, they should have won that game, but because of their lack of what would you call it? The lack of concentration, they ended up losing that game. And then again, these players aren't actually thinking that we're still involved in a relegation dogfight, so we actually need to go out and score goals. It's not a case as if they don't create opportunities, because yes, they do create opportunities, but they don't have anybody to put away these chances. Ryan, I'm still talking about Brighton, and I'm saying that they create a lot of opportunities, but their forward line is very wasteful and very awful.
Agreed. All season long.
Yeah, and I'm saying that you as a fan watching them are saying that will this week be their week that they actually get a win, and they somehow just get beaten by the hard goal by some horrendous team. It's not a case of these teams actually play good football, but because of how wasteful they are, the team end up beating them.
It's been happening all season.
Agreed upon.
Nothing strange.
And we move on to our next fixture. Another team that has been very awful this season, and this season has got me questioning this coach as well. We're talking about Wolves. They're beaten by 4 goals to 0 by a defensive Burnley team. Burnley, of all people, beat Wolves by 4 goals to 0. And the funniest part about this game, I'll touch on the goal scorer because Chris Wood actually scored an hat trick in that game. But what's funny, do you guys ever seen a team like Burnley leading by a particular amount of goals and carrying the ball to the corner to hold out the lead? That was very funny, man. They were leading by 4 goals, and then I saw to the latter part of the game, players going down to the corner flag, holding up players and things like that. I was really shocked by it, man. But it leads me back to Wolves, man. Wolves has been very, very poor this season. It leads you to think that is Nuno Espirito Santo an average coach? Because yeah, we understand that Raul Jimenez was essential to whatever they did last season. He went down injured for the longest while and he hasn't returned since. But then you look at it and said they brought in players to actually replace it. Well, not necessarily replace, but to actually fill the void. First, they brought in the youngster Fabio Silva from Porto, and then you expected that okay, this is a youngster, so he might not hit the ground running instantly. But then they went for Willian Jose from Real Sociedad, and you're saying that okay, this is a player that plays similar to Raul Jimenez. They're both physical, they're also target men, and they like to run off the back of defenders. He hasn't hit the ground running either because if memory serves me correct, he has only scored once for them. And it leads you to think that okay, if you're a coach and you know that your top man is out, why don't you actually set up your team to play according to strength of the players that you have at your disposal? Yes, they have had consistent injuries right throughout because Prudence was down for a bit. Also, Pijanita is now out for the season. He was their best player throughout the entirety of this season. He's now out totally for the season. But you have other players in the mix that you as a coach should actually look and think and say, hey, if this is not working for me, I could try new things and see if this would actually work. But a lot of times this season, Nuno has looked bereft of ideas. He has looked somewhat wanting on the touchline, and it is to think: is this coach that good, or it was actually Raul Jimenez who was bringing this team? And Adama Traore, who a lot of people are saying that he's a bug, he's a garbage player because he's not good when it comes down to the end product. His end product has been always wayful from his time back at Barca to Aston Villa to Middlesbrough and all those teams. So his end product is always in questioning. Last season, he had a very good player in Raul Jimenez to get on the end of those crosses. Raul Jimenez turned a lot of half decent crosses into goal scoring opportunities, yes, and he even scored goals from them. But this season, he doesn't have the partnership to work along with, and that didn't help them. But Ryan, the question that I just asked, I wanted to answer it. Do you think that Nuno lacks ideas, or is a case of Wolves just have a bad season overall?
Two things. Wolves is having a bad season because their top player is out, and Nuno was never more than a average, at best, slightly above average coach. We all know the system that he plays: sit and count and try to hit you on the counter. Basically, that's his system. Um, he has had a few good seasons because when you have a lot of players from one country, chances are they're going to gel and they're going to play well in a system and so forth. But when the system um, is found out in the sense of one or two of your top players are out, then it will show the flaws of said system. So that's basically the situation for Wolves right now, I guess.
Yeah, well, as I said though, I understand the point that you're bringing across, right? In terms of Raul Jimenez, their most important player out for the season. But if you look at it, you say he's an average coach. Yeah, that's above average in terms of coaching because he's not top of the top in terms of that. But if you are a coach, right, why can't you come up with ideas and plans to actually subsidized for your top player missing. As I said, they brought
In
in
fairness to
two
him, he has
strikers.
tried. He has tried. We see him try back four a few times. Go back to the back three. Him, I see where he tried like maybe two up front with a number 10 behind. He has tried different systems, but his
All right.
the core philosophy of what Nuno is about, it hasn't changed, regardless of
Ryan,
what he has tried to
Ryan,
do.
look at this. You have a player in Nelson Semedo who has been nothing short of being a total pile of trash. You as a coach, if you see right through the season that this player hasn't been given what you expect, they're not repaying the faith that you have shown them. Would you continue to persist with this player, or would you actually say, all right, I give you a fair run, now it's time for you to rub the bench?
For who?
Semedo, all right, Semedo, right? I would bench
All
him.
right, Coach Smith and put in who?
You remember the youth that that was part, well, they said it was a separate deal in terms of the Jota to Liverpool and Kayana over to,
Whoever. Yeah,
yeah, to Wolves. Why don't you give him more opportunities?
you could.
My point. So
You could give but it would be a big risk to give. Is what 20?
yeah, but come on,
I'm
why
just
why
saying
not
it would be a big.
why
I'm
not take
just
the
saying
risk?
it would be a big risk, and we don't know what is going on in training. So it's easy for us to sit here and say, "Oh, give him a chance, give him a good run." We
Yeah,
don't know
but
what's
but
going on in training.
but Ryan, could he do any worse than Semedo? Because
Probably.
you have seen Semedo all season long for Wolves, and we have seen him from Barcelona days. And boss, Semedo has been wasteful, awful, and all those adjectives. That if I start to find the adjectives to describe this man this season, it would be a very long list. This could actually be a list that I could actually bring to the supermarket. So Semedo should have been rested long time ago and give the chance to a next man. But
Arguably, but I mean,
on
we don't
Burnley
know.
though, they were pretty impressive in the match. Burnley was very good. All right. Next up, we saw Leeds United take on Man United in what has always been termed as a fierce encounter between both teams. Prior to the match, United boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said that based on how these two teams played, nil all is certainly not on the cards. From I heard that, I was like,
Nila.
but what shocked me through this is that Leeds played a type of game that I've never really seen them play. Leeds actually played with a low block in this match. And you know that a team like Wolves, Wolves, so I might miss them. I mean Leeds, they're always a team that plays open. But I was somewhat skeptical about United beating them. Reason being, throughout the entirety of this season, none of the perennial Big Six hasn't beaten Leeds at home. They have always left with either a point or nothing at all. So I was kind of skeptical about that. Yes, United were not 23 games unbeaten run and all of that, but remember that all this unbeaten run is not just wins alone. Draws are included. So
Mm.
I was kind of skeptical in terms of that. And if you look at Leeds over the past 3 games, they beat Man City and they drew against Liverpool. I thought they were actually unlucky against Liverpool because the second half they totally dominated Liverpool. And yes, that game ended 1-1. So I was looking at it from that standpoint. I said that they're actually on a good enough form against the big teams. So against United, United backline stood up to the challenge, and actually Leeds never created much. So United hats off in terms of defense, but in terms of the creativity, we didn't create much, and also the chances that we got were merely half chances. And the clearest opportunity we had was a chance that I think it was Wan-Bissaka who cut back the ball on the edge of the box of Bruno. Bruno was look out of sorts for the past at least 10 games, he hasn't really contributed to any goals or anything like that, except for a penalty scored in a Europa League game. But an informed Bruno would have put that into the back of the net. Rashford also got an opportunity earlier in the game. I think it was in the 7th minute that Lindelof played the ball over the top and he ran into it, but it took him somewhat wide. And by the time he was together and all of that, the chance had already gone and he flashed it wide. But I have to say, hats off to Leeds keeper. He pulled off a very good save from that Rashford free kick. And with that also, and that match finishing 0-0, he became the youngest player to actually keep 10 clean sheets in the league. I see a lot of people saying that this
Yeah.
keeper has a very long way to go. They like him, and some people are questioning it at the beginning that why did Leeds went for the former Real Madrid keeper.
Racist.
I'm trying to remember his name. I think his name is what, Kiko
Kiko.
Casilla.
That's it.
Yes, so
Yeah.
they're saying that Casilla was a better keeper because Melier came under a lot of scrutiny earlier on. But I for one, I like giving young players chances.
No, if you're
And
20 as a keeper, you know, you're going to make mistakes.
yeah, but it leads me back to something that you said earlier on about Kai Hanahova. You're saying that because he's 20 and all that. So I'm saying I personally likes to give chances to young players. So
I'm not saying I don't mind giving chances to them, but you have to look at the fact that there must be a reason why Nuno may not be giving him that chance. Maybe there's something in training that we are not seeing.
yeah, man, I
That's
get
what
that. I
that's
get
what I
that,
led with.
Yeah, man, I get that. But in terms of Melier, he made some mistake earlier, and other people are saying that, oh, this keeper is this, and Casilla should get back the gloves. But I love the fact that Bielsa stood by him and kept him in the goal, and on quite a few occasions, he has been the one to pull them out of trouble. And to keep 10 clean sheets in the Premier League at what, 20 years old? Come on,
Yeah,
man. That is pretty much impressive. And the French team has quite a few goalkeepers on their hands that are actually coming through because some said that yes, they want to
Lafon.
continue, but Lloris must consider now. You have Melier, you have Lafont, and you have other keepers that are actually coming through that they're very good. So I want to say congrats to Melier for his achievement and let's hope he keeps on growing from strength to strength. But there was a dubious call in the game, and again, I'm going to ask for your take. There was this particular call, I believe it was Jack Harrison who flashed, I think it was a cross come shot that actually
Oh,
hit
I
the hand
was
of
when
Luke
this match
Shaw.
was being played, I was actually playing football.
All right, so there was this chance that came
Yeah.
to Jack Harrison. Luke Shaw didn't move his hand away much from his body, and the ball struck him somewhere for here. His hand was close by his body, so VAR ran a check and they said no penalty. But after the match, Leeds player Alioski came out and said that had it been the other way around and it was them that was on the end of a United attack, it would have been given as a penalty. Somewhat controversial, yeah, but
Sound
a
like
lot
he
of
has a good point.
all right. Personally, if it was given as a penalty, I wouldn't cry over it. But again, the referee were using their discretion in this case, and this is something that they haven't done
You see what
consistently throughout
that's
the
what I
season.
spoke about earlier. Referees have to use their discretion. You can't be hard and fast by the rules because each situation requires different thinking because of the nature of the sport. Football is
Yeah,
not a hard and fast sport where everything is black and white. A lot of things are contextual depending on how they happen. So, well, if the ref uses discretion and made a decision, kudos to him for that.
as I
Even
said when
though even though it it may appear a different way to the other team, but yeah, discretion to be.
in which general is expected because if we're playing football and it's your team and the wrong NFL call, you're going to come out and say something about it. But as I said, Narayan, if it was given as a penalty, I wouldn't cry over it because I've seen them given before.
Mm.
I've seen things like this being given before. So it wasn't given. I was like, okay. If it was given, I would say like, okay. But it was a dull nil draw. Some people
I
say
heard
that
the
it
most
was quite good.
I heard the most exciting part of the game was when Maguire tell
And
Fred
Fred,
Ballard.
I see a lot of people say that, man. But yeah, it was quite funny. But Maguire came out and said that it's something that they normally do in terms of if they see another player slacking off and they expect him to do better, let's tell off each other and then after the match done, then shake hand them good
Yeah,
again. Well, even
that's a
before the
football
match
game.
finish.
It's a football
But
game. What the problem?
typically,
It's just that we don't have fans now and we're hearing what they're saying. That's it.
that's it. Because I was watching and listening to commentary at once. And the commentator said, sorry if you're hearing a indecent language just now. That was our part. I was like, so them mother funny though. But it was a cold lineup by Ole, and based on the lineup that I saw as well, didn't really expected much. Um, Next up, we saw Aston Villa taking on West Brom. That game finished 2-2, with Aston Villa getting a late equalizer from Keenan Davis. But there's one
Mm.
thing that I'm happy about with this match. Wesley is finally back. He has been out for a very long while. He finally returned this weekend. Hopefully, he gets some game under his belt with Grealish still out. So I think probably can the coach can alter his formation and probably play two at the top with the
When is
back three. And
Grealish? When should Grealish be back?
they have not given a deadline as yet.
Mm.
But hopefully, he'll be back before the season end. But this game finished 2-2, and immediately one of our analysts, Sherwin, said that he's betting us, well, not us, he's betting me that Big Sam will actually let West Brom survive the drop. I actually took up the bet, man, and said that there's no way West Brom is going to survive the drop. Said that boss is going to, so let's see how that one goes. But again,
The bet that I would make on Big Sam is Big Sam leave before the season finish so that he
where I
does
say,
not
is
have
it
a relegation on the TV.
protect his legacy?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a good one. But let's see how that one pan out. That would actually be very interesting to see. And finally, earlier on today, we saw Christ- Crystal Palace beaten 2-1 by Leicester City. Leicester City coming from behind to beat them. And
Yeah, I was
normally people
following.
would be saying that it's Rodgers' time to actually fall, but he has survived a lot of injuries and his team is now what? 7 points ahead of some of the teams that they're actually in the running against for the top four. So is it
Yeah.
safe to say that Leicester will make the top four this season?
After today's game, it's a lot safer. It's a safer call to make, which is why when I was saying to you about Liverpool and us,
Yeah.
because I'm looking at it now that it is going to
The top three is
the top.
basically out of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
equation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm looking at it that way now after today's results because to make up ground on Leicester is going to take some doing with so little bit of games left to play. So it's basically two and a half, 2 and 3/4 slots out of the four that has been
Yeah.
taken.
And
Basically.
again, Kelechi Iheanacho was on the score sheet. He scored and he also assisted, and his goal was a very good goal. He has hit a purple patch. He has stepped up when the team needed a player the most to step up with Madison out, Jamie Vardy misfiring, and he has come to the fore. And I believe it's what? Is it 9 goals in 12 games or is it 12 goals in 9 games? It's one out of the two, but he has hit a purple patch of form this year, and he has been the one carrying the team on his shoulder. So I hope they continue to carry on to defy the odds that Rogers actually a choke and slips up at when it matters most. And even more so, I want it to carry on because I want them to beat you guys in the final of the FA Cup.
Mm.
A little news before I move on to the Champions League. So it said that Julian Nagelsmann, the coach of RB Leipzig, will take over the reins at one FC Bayern Munchen. Don't know how concrete this is yet, but I see a lot of media outlets reporting it, and even a trusted source, Fabian Fabrizio Romano, saying that it's something close to being done. Also on the transfer front, he said that Ibrahima Konate from
Did
Leipzig would
he say,
actually
here
go
we
ahead.
go?
Yeah, man,
Here
he
we go.
say,
It's
but
critical, you know.
yeah, but he has not said it yet. The here we go has not come yet. But
Okay, that's the critical part.
he also said that Ibrahima Konate, the central defender from Leipzig,
To
will be switching
Liverpool.
over to Liverpool. Also, a news that has been dominating the media today said that the Spotify owner, along with few Arsenal legends, are trying to purchase Arsenal. A lot of people run with it, including some Arsenal fans, but trust me, they don't know about business much, man. These men, especially Stan Kroenke, is not going to sell Arsenal. So a little bit more turmoil for you guys to
The
suffer.
longer stand stays, the better.
Say no more. But I don't believe this is going to happen, but let's see how it stays. And also for Leipzig, the sporting director has also left. Not sure where he's going, but we just have to wait and see how that one pan out. Tomorrow in the Champions League,
Mm.
a tough encounter. Real Madrid versus Chelsea. The return, well, not return yet, but Eden Hazard against his former team, and he's fit to play this game. Where do you see this one going tomorrow?
Well, both semifinals are a hard call. Both semifinals could go right down to the wire. They could go extra time slash penalties. So they are hard calls for me, given the fact that the nature of the makeup of the four teams. There is no clear team, clear favorite for me as it stands right now. Everything might just come down to the day itself and how teams limit their mistakes and or how they capitalize on mistakes that have been made and team selection, tactics, all of that could come down. It could come down to all of that because for me, both semifinalists, both sets of semifinalists cancel out each other for the most part.
But call the game, man. How you see your game
I
finishing
I
tomorrow?
want I want my team to win.
No, but that's what
My
you
my
want in
my
our
my
logically.
my heart says Chelsea, but my brain says Real Madrid because of Zidane.
When it comes on to Champions League and especially when it comes on to semifinals and beyond, he's a master at it. And I expect to see Eden Hazard scoring against Chelsea tomorrow. I know he
I
won't
don't.
celebrate, but I see him scoring.
I just want somebody to put something past Couture. One or two.
But I think he'll score tomorrow. Um, on Wednesday, PSG against Man City. Where see this one going? Because this one is surely going to be a fun fest.
It's the
Will
same situation as I mentioned. Close to call because of the realities of both teams and why I don't even know who to call.
um my question to you, will it be a
Can I
case
call a
of
draw? You mean for the first leg? Draw.
yeah man, for the first leg, man. I'm not talking about the
My
second
draw
leg. We're
pack.
just discussing the first leg.
Yeah, all legs can draw as far as I'm concerned. But as far as I'm concerned, based on how teams are, because it might even come down to that.
But the thing that I want to ask you, do you think that this time around Pep will overthink his tactics because he has known to do it quite a lot when it comes onto this stage and with them
Well,
playing in a five.
he hasn't done it yet. So, and he always does it at least once. So he's due.
And we also want to say congratulations to them for winning the Man City Cup. They
Yeah.
have to rename that cup, man. What 5 year and well, not 5, 4 year on the threat. So congrats Manchester City for winning the
It would have been
Manchester
more
City Cup.
interest. It would have been more interested if Mourinho was the coach yesterday.
The
Because
possibility exists.
with him not being the coach, it just took away from the game for me.
Probably.
Because it would have been his fourth attempt. He would also be trying for four to four.
Okay.
So,
But let's see how
yeah,
this
but
one
well,
goes.
both coaches would have been trying for 4 top 4. So it would have been more interesting for me if he was still the coach going, and both of them going for that title.
Yeah, but as I said, let's see how this PSG against Man City match will go. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
Mbappe is fit because he came off in the around in the 85th minute in their league outing on the weekend. It's just touch and go for him. I didn't see any reports that he's totally out of the fixture, so let's see how this one goes. But I expect an entertaining fixture, and it's just a matter of time, and we'll see exactly how thing goes. Um, Earlier on, I said that I want to touch a bit on track and field, and over the weekend we saw quite a few interesting performances from a few Jamaicans. None more so than Natasha Morrison, 28 years old. I'd expected to come through a lot earlier, but as I always say, nothing happened before time. And she lowered her personal best to 10.87 over the weekend. Um, Ryan, what do you make of her? And do you think that she could actually make it into the top four for the Jamaica team in terms of the qualifiers?
Well, we're in strange times right now, sports wise. Um,
I mean, top
especially
four.
for especially for yeah, especially for a sport like track and field that has not been consistently on due to the realities of the sport itself. So, as it is, right, we are seeing some performances that are eyebrow raising over the past few weeks, where track and field is concerned. So, I, any card can play right now, given that we are like what 2 months before the Olympic.
Roughly.
Yeah, roughly 2 months. Yeah. So
Might be a
as
tad
far
bit, but just roughly thereabouts.
yeah, give and take a few days. So as far as I'm concerned right now, with you have different sets of players peaking differently right now. Anything can happen right now, especially being this close to trials. We can expect anything to happen. She does have a good chance right now to make the top 3. She certainly has a very good chance of making the relay team. So she has a very good chance for me.
Also, over the weekend we saw one Kimber Nelson who I have as a dark horse. She has been improving immensely. So she ran 11.08. Do you see her moving up in terms of challenging the perennial big two in terms of Elaine and Shelley? Or will it be a case of too little too soon for her? Or, as
The
you
latter.
said earlier, as you said earlier, based on how things are currently, anything is possible.
I don't have her in the mix.
All right. On the men's side as well, we saw a couple Jamaican performance
We
over the
have we
weekend.
have
And
we have male athletes.
well, I'm about to get to a few. In the 100 meter, it was one by one Fred Curley, 9.91 personal best. And in that same race, Jordan Ford came third with 10.03. Nigel Ellis came fourth with 10.04. And Michael Stevens, he came sixth in 10.12 seconds. Do you see any of these guys going up? Or do you think that it's a year that we can actually just count out most Jamaicans in
I
terms
don't
of
have an expectation. I don't have an expectation for the men.
where they just shut it down just like that?
Yeah, I don't have an expectation there.
Just like that. But earlier on one of our lives, you're asking about Brianna Williams. You're the one who brought it up. And
Yeah,
initially we thought that this athlete had run sub 11 already. But that's proven to us that she did run under sub 11, yes, but it was when hated.
indeed.
So, or she's 19 years old currently, and she also ran over the weekend and ran what 11.26 in her first race, her first 100 meter of the season. And she said that she's working on the finish, the end part of her 100-meter race. The start is there and all of that, but in terms of to the back end that we need to get to the top end speed, she's actually working at that. So there are things that she's trying to get at. Her personal best stands at 11.02 for the 100-meter and 22.50 for the 200-meter. Question to you, Ryan. Do you think there's scope for improvement for, well, obviously there's scope for improvement, but in terms of her going on to become that athlete that some of us expect, because behind Elaine and Shelley, there's always talk that she's next in line. She's the one to finish, well, probably third or even challenge both those athletes. Do you see her actually going up the ladder come this season, or do you think that she has regressed somewhat based on the potential she has shown from
I
the
don't know
beginning
if
of the season?
regress would be the right word to use, given that a lot of athletes have had truncated seasons over the past year to year and a half. So it will, especially for a young athlete, it will hamper their development in terms of getting up to speed, literally, in terms of the clock. And it has hampered her moving into a sub 11 category. But whatever it is that she's working on, she needs to work on it very fast because the clock is running out in terms of we have trials coming up very shortly and we have an Olympic just around the corner, and she needs to be sub 11.8, well, not 11.8, maybe within the sorry, the
Well,
10.8
the
bracket.
10.8, yeah.
10.8 bracket. She needs to get there very quickly to have any chance at all of making the top three and challenging in an Olympic final.
And I've been really watching her progression, and to me, as I said, there seems to be working on her race phase by phase. As I said, the drive phase and the start is there because you know that she has a bullet start.
Mm,
And based on what I saw, the first 50 meters of the race is there, but the last 50 is where she has found one thing so far. Hopefully, it's a case, as I said, they're working phase by phase and correcting certain things to let her go faster. And we'll see how this progression comes on because I have lots of hope for this girl. Also, Kivona Davis. Let's see how both of them come on because we need them. Because they will reach a point where there will be no more Shelley and no more Helene for us. So we need some upcoming talent to push through now. Um,
definitely.
last but not least, a little bit on the cricket. The IPL has been ongoing and there have been a lot of mixed bags right throughout. At this particular time, you don't see any clear flavor. This minute you might have this team and you might say, well, they look really good. Next match, they bowl for a paltry total. So
Yeah, well,
I've been
RCB is a standout team right now, don't you know?
but they got beat up was it what? Yesterday? Yeah,
Still
they
the
were beat
standout team. That's
they
their
were
first
beat
loss.
yesterday.
First loss.
So okay, you might say they're the standout team, yeah, but if you look at it though,
If you win four and then lose one, that's a very good record.
yeah, it's a very good record, yes, but what I'm saying is that they have won some games and they have looked good in some, yes. But have you noticed that majority of the matches in IPL this year have been very low scoring?
Yeah, I realize.
And another thing that I want to point out is that a lot of the Australian players has gone home based on the rise of the COVID cases in India. I was told earlier on that on a random day, well, on most majority of days, their cases have risen over by 350,000, and a lot of players have pulled out. And Pat Cummins has come to aid for some of them by offering. Well, he gave them some money to sort out some oxygen and things like that. So it was a good gesture on his part, and we hope that it will lower at some point in time because they have said they're not going to stop the IPL based on this. That's what they said initially. I don't know if they'll actually change it afterwards, but let's see how this one pan out. We hope that it will actually the cases actually start falling, but let's just see how this one goes. Any finals take, Ryan, or any final say?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it and say for a country that must produce the vaccine, it's kind of weird that the cases are so astronomically high. But let's hope and pray that um, they'll get it sorted shortly.
Yeah, man, let's just hope and see how everything pan out. Again, guys, we have reached the climax of the live. I want to say thank you to all of you who stood by us throughout the entirety of this 1 hour. All the first time viewers, all our regular viewers, all the commenters. Yes, we saw all your comments and we appreciate all of them. We encourage you guys to comment more because that's what keeps us going as well. We read them a lot. Even our panelists read them. They might not say it on the live, but they do take key notice of the comments. And I as those read the comments right through it. And also say thank you to our producer Josh Carl who makes this one possible. If it wasn't Josh Carl, we wouldn't be here. So I want to say thank you guys and we look forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday. We're going to have a show on Wednesday. You can definitely mark that down on the calendar. And we need to see more viewers, man. Come on, man. We can't have over 700 subscribers, followers on Facebook, and on a regular basis, we just have 30 viewers. Come on, man. Encourage others to watch your thing. We need the viewers, man. So please just encourage others to watch your thing. Thanks to Ryan, our analyst. He rode solo through the night with me, but it was a very good show either way. Until
Yeah.
Wednesday, take care of yourself, guys. Peace out. Enjoy the Champions League matches.